Hey everyone, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really going to get into something interesting, this idea that often gets missed if you're just, looking at charts. It's the idea that markets don't just move on numbers, they move when culture believes. We want to explore what it really means to trade, belief itself. And this is really for you if you're a beginner trader, trying to figure out how these big cultural shifts can create real opportunities. We'll look specifically at crypto assets like MARA and XRP. So our mission today, let's unpack this core idea of cultural momentum trading and give you some practical ways to think about these crypto plays. Okay, let's dig in.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the core idea, like you said, is you're not just reacting to price, you're actually trading the belief. And when that belief starts to spread, when it takes hold, that generates what we call cultural momentum. And it's driven by, a few key things.
Okay, so it's more than just technical analysis. It's about sensing that undercurrent of conviction.
Yeah.
What are those moments, those signals that tell us, okay, belief is really spreading now, that momentum is building?
That's the key question, right? Because those signals, those are your potential entry points. A big one is significant legislation breaks. Think about XRP, winning that SEC case recently. That brought clarity. Or even new crypto tax laws. These things remove uncertainty, build confidence. That's huge. Another one, when narratives hit the mainstream. Like, remember when the Bitcoin ETFs, the BIO and IBIT launched? Suddenly Bitcoin was in traditional finance. Or just seeing wider adoption, maybe even politicians talking positively about crypto. And critically, you watch for retail investors getting emotionally re-engaged. That feeling, the fear of missing out, FOMO. When that starts bubbling up again after things have been quiet, that's a very strong civil belief is coming back.
Right, so when these things happen, like say regulatory approval or a big legal win,
Yeah.
what's actually going on under the hood? What does that shift in perception, look like? And why is it such a big deal for a trader?
It's a huge deal because it's not just a little price bump, it's fundamental. When these narratives gain that legitimacy, they don't just nudge the price. They really unleash significant waves of liquidity and attention. Think of it like, a dam breaking or a river changing course. That's the kind of scale we're talking about in terms of money and eyes on the asset. What's fascinating here is exactly that it's not just price reacting to news, it's a fundamental shift in how people see the asset, the whole ecosystem sometimes. So the strategy isn't really about chasing those ripples after they're already big. It's about positioning yourself just before that wave really crests and using specific tools, maybe options, to amplify that move. You might look for, say, two things happening together, maybe some pending legislation, and you start seeing sustained buzz on social media. That combination, that could be your signal the wave is building.
Okay, that makes sense. So you need the right vehicle to ride that wave. How do we actually put this into practice? This idea of trading cultural momentum. You mentioned selecting assets that are like vessels for momentum. Plug right into news, emotion, regulation, hope even.
Exactly. And in the crypto space, you have to start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is pretty much undeniably the cultural engine of the whole market. It sets the tone.
Okay, so Bitcoin is the engine. How do we leverage that? Let's talk MAR. Marathon Digital Holdings. You called it a financial lever for Bitcoin. Can you unpack that? It's seen as a high beta derivative of Bitcoin. Now, for you beginners listening, beta basically measures volatility relative to the market, or in this case, Bitcoin. High beta means MAR tends to move with Bitcoin, but with bigger swings. It amplifies the moves up and down. Why faster? Well, MARI mines Bitcoin, so its profits are super sensitive to Bitcoin's price, which makes it, an ideal vehicle if you prefer trading stocks or options to leverage Bitcoin's moves instead of buying Bitcoin directly.
And the MAR play is a specific strategy using this relationship. The execution rules are pretty clear. You monitor Bitcoin's weekend moves, especially Sunday volatility. Bitcoin trades 204/7, remember. Then, Monday morning, you look for MAR's correlation lag. What that means is, sometimes MAR's stock price takes a little bit to catch up to what Bitcoin did over the weekend. That creates a short window of potential setup. You might use options like out-of-the-money calls or puts, OTM options. These are basically higher leverage bets that the price will move significantly. Calls if you expect it to go up, puts if down. The whole goal is to find a repeatable high RR setup. High RR just means your potential reward is much bigger than your potential risk on the trade. So your winners really count. It's for disciplined players.
That's clear. But, for a beginner, isn't it tempting to just jump on any story, any narrative that pops up? How do you avoid getting caught up in the noise and wait for those really foundational shifts?
That's a really important point. And it comes back to understanding the meaning behind your edge, which we can talk more about. With MRA, the meaning is pretty straightforward. It's directly tied to Bitcoin's underlying cultural weight and momentum. Now, if MRA is that Bitcoin lever, then XRP is being looked at as maybe the next momentum key. It's sort of a sister strategy to the MRA play.
Yeah.
You mentioned XRP's SEC win. That, plus all the rumors flying around about a potential XRP ETF that signaled a kind of breakout moment. The thinking is, if XRP gets a public market wrapper, like an ETF, that could unlock a new wave of cultural momentum. It could bring back retail investors who maybe left and attract institutional money into the XRP story again.
Yeah, if we connect that to the bigger picture, it does sound a lot like Bitcoin's own journey with ETFs like Beto and IBIT, right?
Yeah.
So how does the XRP play actually prepare you for that potential unlock?
Right, the XRP play is about getting positioned for that possibility. It might involve trading XRP directly, on platforms like Robinhood or Coinbase. Or similar to MRA, you could use options on stocks that might correlate, like for Coinbase, maybe GBTC, or even other miners like CLSK. The core principle is the same. You're anticipating a distinct cultural shift, but this one is specific to XRP's acceptance, regulation, institutional interest. It's about being ready for that fundamental change in perception and attention.
And underpinning all of this, these specific plays, is this broader philosophy you mentioned, the Cairo-Ordo system, which emphasizes that every trade must be made at the right time, with the right intention, in alignment with larger tides. So it's about precision, understanding the why, not just turning trades.
Exactly. Cairo-Ordo applied here. Well, it means your entries are guided by the narrative, the regulation news, even the time of week structure, like that Monday MRA setup. And you confirm with things like volume or that correlation lag we talked about. And crucially, your exits. They happen ideally at the liquidity climax. That's the point where the wave peaks, everyone's rushing in. That's often when the smart money starts to exit. This whole philosophy pushes you to understand the meaning behind your edge. Like, if you trade the XRP news, the meaning isn't just price went up. It's something like, okay, the market's fundamental belief in XRP's future just got a major boost. Understanding that helps you avoid purely emotional moves like chasing FOMO and stick to your plan even if there are temporary dips.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not just about the setup, but the reason for the setup. And beyond the strategy, there's this whole psychological piece, too. You mentioned Candle Home framing itself as a ritual-based trading lifestyle brand. That focus on mindful discipline seems really important, especially when things get slow, right? Like framing the summer slowdown not as boredom, but as a gift, a mid-year portal, a chance to reset. How does that power of stillness, as they call it, actually help you trade better?
Oh, it's transformative, really. During those quiet periods, it's your chance for stillness before expansion, for reflection before risk. There's that great line, you don't grow fruit during winter, you grow roots. It's the time to deepen your understanding, build resilience, refine your process. Like Candle Home's one trade a day system. It's an example of simplification. The idea is your edge isn't in more trades, it's in better trades. Less noise, more clarity, more focus. And developing that power of stillness, maybe through journaling, reflecting on your trades, your reasoning, that's key. Because, as they put it, clarity comes from silence. It lets you step away from the minute-to-minute noise and really see those bigger cultural tides we've been discussing.
That really resonates. So for you listening, how could you maybe bring more of that reflection, that stillness, into your own trading? Maybe it's just taking 5 minutes after a trade closes, not just logging the P&L, but jotting down what was the narrative? What was the belief I was trading? How did it play out?
Exactly. That kind of disciplined reflection, that's how you really start to internalize these cultural currents and understand your own edge within them.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, the big takeaway really is this. Successful trading, especially in crypto with assets like MRA and XRP, it goes way beyond just the price charts. It involves understanding and actively trading belief itself, positioning yourself to ride these big cultural momentum waves. MRA and XRP are just two concrete examples of how you can potentially do that, looking for those key shifts in regulation, mainstream attention, and retail sentiment. So the question for you is, what does this all mean as you navigate these markets? How might understanding these deeper cultural currents change how you look for your next big opportunity even more, maybe especially when the market seems quiet? Perhaps it means shifting focus just a bit, from chasing every little wiggle on the chart to patiently watching for the signs of the next big wave of cultural belief starting to form.